The meeting ended without incident. That was what Daniel believed at the time. It was a small conference room on the third floor, the kind with frosted glass walls and a table that always felt too long for the number of people sitting around it. 4 of them were present. Daniel, his manager, Claire, 2 colleagues whose names blended into routine familiarity. Nothing unusual. They were reviewing a project timeline. Daniel spoke carefully, as he always did. He had learned early that clarity was safer than enthusiasm. Fewer misunderstandings. Fewer problems. At one point, Claire asked a direct question about responsibility. Who had approved the last change? Daniel answered without hesitation. I did, he said. I signed off after the client requested the revision. Claire nodded. She wrote something down. No tension. No raised voices. The meeting moved on. By the time Daniel returned to his desk, the conversation had already slipped into memory. It was just another weekday interaction, filed away without weight. 2 hours later, an email arrived. Subject: clarification needed. Claire had copied the entire department. The message was brief. During today's meeting, Daniel stated that the client pressured him into approving the revision without authorization. This is a serious concern. We need to address what was said. Daniel read the sentence twice, then a third time. His first reaction was mild confusion. His second was a faint, unpleasant heat behind his eyes. He did not remember saying that. He replied calmly, I think there may be a misunderstanding. I said I approved the revision after the client requested it. I didn't say I was pressured. Several minutes passed. Then another email arrived. This one from a colleague. That's not how it sounded in the room. Daniel leaned back in his chair. He scanned the office. People were typing, laughing quietly. Nothing about the atmosphere suggested conflict. He stood and walked to Claire's office. She looked up when he knocked. Her expression was professional but distant. I want to clear something up, Daniel said. There seems to be confusion about what I said earlier. Claire folded her hands. Daniel, you said the client pushed you to approve something you weren't authorized to approve. No, he replied. I didn't. She paused. That's not how I remember it. Neither of them raised their voice. That somehow made it worse. We can check the notes, Daniel said. We did, she replied. Everyone heard the same thing. The word everyone landed heavily. Daniel left her office with a tight feeling in his chest that did not quite qualify as panic. More like the beginning of vertigo. Back at his desk, he replayed the meeting in his mind. He could hear his own voice. Measured. Precise. The sentence he remembered saying was clear. Unambiguous. He pulled up the calendar. The meeting was recorded. Company policy. Relief came quickly. Recordings did not lie. He opened the file. The audio was clean. Claire's question played. Then Daniel's response. I felt pressured by the client to approve the revision before proper authorization, the recording said. I didn't feel I had a choice. Daniel stared at the screen. The voice was his. The words were not. He listened again and again. Each time, the same sentence. The same tone. Calm. Matter of fact. A strange detachment settled over him, as though he were listening to a stranger using his vocal cords. He closed the file. That evening, Daniel called his sister. You remember that job interview I had years ago, he said. The one where they asked about conflict. Yes, she replied. You told them you avoided it at all costs. No, Daniel said slowly. I said conflict was sometimes necessary. There was a pause. That's not what you told me, she said. You said you hated confrontation. He felt the same heat rise again. It doesn't matter, he said quickly. Just curious. After the call ended, he sat alone in his apartment, lights off, replaying conversations from his past. Moments that had always felt solid now shifted under inspection. Statements he had been sure of blurred at the edges. The next day, it happened again. A casual hallway conversation. A harmless joke. Laughter. Later, an HR email referencing inappropriate language. Daniel asked for specifics. They sent a transcript. The words were offensive. Careless. Not something he would have said. But again, the voice was his. By the end of the week, people were avoiding him. Not overtly. Subtly. Shorter replies. Less eye contact. He began to speak less. He reviewed messages before sending them. Read them aloud quietly to himself. He started recording his own conversations on his phone, a private precaution he told himself he would never need. On Friday, a co-worker confronted him near the elevators. You know, she said, arms crossed. If you're unhappy here, you should just say so. I am not unhappy, Daniel replied. She shook her head. You told 3 of us you hate this place. I didn't, he said. "You did," she replied, not unkindly. "You always do." Then you act surprised. That night, Daniel listened to his recordings. Every conversation sounded normal, controlled, polite, but the official versions never matched. He stopped trusting memory. Then he stopped trusting sound. What unsettled him most was not the discrepancy. It was the consistency. Everyone else agreed. The records agreed. Only he did not. Late one evening, he received a message from an unknown number. "You're not crazy. You're just hearing the first version." Daniel stared at the screen. He typed back, "Who is this?" Several seconds passed. Someone who learned to stop correcting it. His phone rang immediately after. He did not answer. Outside his apartment, the city moved as usual. Cars passed. People spoke. Words were exchanged and accepted without question. Inside, Daniel sat perfectly still, wondering when his own voice had stopped belonging to him, and how many times before he had spoken without ever being heard the way he remembered. Daniel stopped answering unfamiliar numbers after that night. Not out of fear, out of calculation. If the message had been a prank, engaging would only feed it. If it had been something else, silence felt safer. Silence was still one thing he believed he could control. By Monday morning, that belief was already thinning. The first sign came from his access badge. It flashed red at the building entrance, then green on the second try. The security guard glanced up, frowned, then waved him through without comment. Inside, the atmosphere had shifted again. Not avoidance this time. Observation. People looked at him as though he had already said something, and they were waiting for him to continue. At his desk, a printed document lay neatly centered on his keyboard. Employee Conduct Review. His name was highlighted. The report was thorough. Dates, times, quotes attributed to him, statements he had never formed, organized into a pattern that suggested intent, dissatisfaction, hostility, a tendency toward manipulation. At the bottom, a note in Claire's handwriting. "We need to talk today." Daniel did not sit down. He stood there, reading until the words blurred. He had spent his life believing that character was something you carried internally, something no one else could rewrite without your permission. Yet here it was, reassembled by consensus. In the meeting room, Claire was joined by someone from HR, a man Daniel had met once and barely remembered. "We're concerned," the man said gently. "Your language over the past few weeks has been inconsistent with your role." Daniel kept his hands flat on the table. "You keep saying my language. I need you to understand that I did not say those things." Claire sighed. "Daniel, this is exactly what worries us. You deny statements that multiple people heard. Then they are wrong," he said. The firmness in his own voice surprised him. The HR representative tilted his head. "All of them?" "Yes." Silence followed, the kind that does not argue back. "We've arranged a short leave," Claire said. "Paid. We think it would help if you took some time." "To do what?" Daniel asked. "To reflect," she replied. He signed the paperwork without protest. Arguing felt pointless when language itself had turned unreliable. Outside, the afternoon sun felt artificial, too bright, like a backdrop. At home, he reviewed everything he had recorded. Hours of audio. Clear. Ordinary. Nothing that matched the accusations. He sent a message to his sister. "Do you remember me ever saying I hated my job?" Her reply came quickly. "You've said it for years. You joke about it." Daniel closed his eyes. He searched old text conversations, emails, social media posts. Everywhere, the same pattern emerged. Mild complaints, sarcasm, words that suggested a version of him he did not recognize but could not disprove. The unknown number texted again that evening. "You're still trying to prove the first version exists." Daniel typed back. "What does that mean?" The response came slower this time. "It means you think there's an original. There isn't." His phone rang immediately after. This time, he answered. The voice on the other end was calm, familiar in the way accents are familiar. "You're hearing yourself," the voice said. "Just not the one people respond to." "Who are you?" Daniel asked. "A listener," the voice replied. "I used to be like you. What is happening to me?" A pause. "Then, you're noticing the correction layer. That doesn't mean anything." "It will," the voice said. "Every system has one. Social, linguistic, behavioral. Most people never hear it because it matches their intent closely enough." "And me?" "You don't adapt fast enough," the voice said. "Your internal version stays too stable." Daniel felt a chill. "So everyone else hears what?" "They hear what fits," the voice said. "What aligns? What resolves friction? You say something neutral. It lands as intent. The system smooths it. That's insane. Is it? The voice asked. Yuvi, never wondered why misunderstandings always seem to resolve in the group's favor? Daniel thought of meetings, arguments, consensus that arrived without anyone remembering how. If this is true, he said slowly, why doesn't everyone notice? Because the corrected version works, the voice replied. It keeps things moving. And me? You resist, the voice said. Not loudly, quietly. You hold meaning too carefully. Daniel laughed once, sharply. So what happens now? You'll be asked to adjust, the voice said. Or you'll be adjusted for. The call ended. Over the following days, the world narrowed. Notifications arrived referencing things he had not said. Invitations were rescinded without explanation. His sister stopped returning messages. When he spoke, people flinched slightly, as if bracing for tone rather than content. He began to test it. In a coffee shop, he said, "It's cold today." The barista stiffened. "I'm doing my best," she replied defensively. Daniel stepped back, heart pounding. At a crosswalk, he muttered, "Sorry," after brushing past someone. "Excuse you," the man snapped. No need to be rude. It was no longer subtle. At home, Daniel practiced speaking into the mirror. He watched his mouth form words and imagined the altered versions arriving elsewhere. Sharper, meaner, more decisive than he felt. He tried silence. That helped, briefly, but even silence was interpreted. "You didn't deny it," Claire said during a follow-up call. That spoke volumes. Sleep became unreliable. He dreamed of conversations happening without him, his voice playing from empty rooms. The unknown number texted one final time. "You can learn to hear both." Daniel replied immediately. "How?" The response took a full minute. "You let go of the first version." He stared at the message. "What does that mean?" he whispered aloud. The next morning, he tried something new. When his sister called, he did not prepare his words. He did not rehearse intent. He spoke loosely, carelessly. "I've always felt overlooked," he said. There was a pause. "Yes," she replied. "I know." Relief washed through him. Sharp, uncomfortable. He tried again with a neighbor. "I don't really care about the noise," he said, though it bothered him. "Thanks for understanding," the neighbor smiled. The corrections aligned. Seamlessly. The more he stopped guarding meaning, the easier it became. Conversations flowed. Tension eased. Invitations returned. But something else shifted too. At night, when he replayed recordings, the audio no longer matched his memory. His own private version had begun to blur. He caught himself mid-thought, unsure whether he believed what he was about to say or simply expected it to work. Weeks later, Claire called. "You seem better," she said. "More like yourself." Daniel smiled automatically. After the call ended, he sat alone, staring at the wall. He tried to recall the sound of his voice before the change, the careful phrasing, the quiet resistance. Nothing came. Outside, the city continued its endless conversation, voices aligning, meaning smoothing itself into agreement. Daniel spoke when needed. He was understood. And somewhere beneath the ease, a first version of him waited, unheard, wondering when it had stopped being necessary.